Hello, everyone. Welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. It's the World Press Freedom Day. I'm sure Kimale, welcome, everyone. As we commemorate World Press Freedom Day in 2024, we're called to reflect on the critical role of journalism in safeguarding democracy, upholding human rights, and fostering societal progress. And today, amidst unprecedented global challenges, the theme, information as a public good, resonates with profound significance, highlighting the pivotal role of a free and independent press in providing accurate, reliable information to citizens globally. Now, an era marked by the proliferation of misinformation and disinformation, the imperative to defend press freedom has never been more pressing as we celebrate the indispensable contributions of journalists. And let us also reaffirm our commitment right here at Channels Television in defending that right and promoting media pluralism and empowering communities with the knowledge they need to navigate an increasingly complex world. And the federal government is making promises here in Nigeria to say they will help to ensure the freedom of journalists in their practice. Today, the World Press Freedom Day is focusing on sustaining and protecting the planet and the environment. And so there was a joint press conference between the Information Minister and his colleague in the Environment Ministry. And take a listen to the commitment being made by Nigeria's government.
It is our conviction that press freedom is not just a fundamental human right. It is also essential for environmental sustainability. Without a free and independent press, we cannot hope to address the complex environmental challenges that we face. As we celebrate World Press Freedom Day today, we must reaffirm our unwavering commitment to protecting the rights of journalists and ensuring their safety and security.
All right, those are the words of the Minister of Information earlier today. And I do say kudos to all journalists that are sticking it out every day to provide the public with the kind of information they need in a world filled with a lot of challenges in the practice. Before we get talking tonight, I have a special guest, and of course I have someone I run to when there is a problematic issue in the economy. And so tonight, those two persons will be discussing with me, but I keep their names in the bag until after we've checked out some of your political roundup stories.
The River State Governor Sim Fubara today flagged off an initiative to empower the people of the state. The event sees the commencement of disbursement of River State and Bank of Industry 4 billion naira matching loan scheme for nano, small and medium-scale businesses in the state. The Edo State Governor, Mr. Gordon Obaseki, has sworn in 5 judges into the state judiciary. The new judges are Osayende Awowu, Bright Ihaze Oniha, Matthias Obayowana, Ovanseri Atomere, and Anthony Obo. The swearing-in ceremony took place at the Festival Hall of the Government House in Benin City, and the governor pledged to ensure more reforms in the state's judiciary. Justice Joseph Oyewole of the Court of Appeal, Abuja, has granted an ex parte motion for stay of proceedings filed by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission against the contempt proceedings commenced by the former governor of Kogi State, Mr. Yahaya Bello. In the ruling, the Court of Appeal granted the EFCC's application to serve the processes in the appeal by substituted means on the former governor. The court consequently adjourned the hearing of the motion on notice to May 20, 2024. And dozens of protesters from Zamfara State today staged a rally at the headquarters of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, calling on the commission to reopen investigations on the former governor, Mr. Bello Matawale. The protesters, under the auspices of the APC Loyalist Forum, are asking the EFCC to investigate all petitions against the former governor, including the alleged contract diversion of up to the tune of 70 billion naira during his tenure as governor of the state. Spokesperson of the EFCC, who received the protesters' letter letter on behalf of the chairman assures the protesters that the commission is determined to pursue every corruption case to a logical conclusion. To Cross River State, where Governor Basi Otu has assured the National Population Commission of his support to ensure adequate data collection across the state. He gave the assurance while playing host to members of the National Population Commission at the Government House in Calabar, the Cross River State capital. According to him, getting adequate figures of the nation will help the federal government in strategizing for the development of the nation. And the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party in Ogun State in the March 18, 2023 governorship election, Mr. Ladi Adebotu, has vowed to resist any attempt by any individual to take the party backward. Addressing leaders and members of the party at the stakeholders meeting in Abeokuta, Mr. Adebotu says the party will avoid any temptation that will cause it to return to the days of disunity. He urged them to be united and elect credible executive members capable of winning elections for the PDP in the 2027 general elections.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. It does look like some of the state governors are getting busy trying to ensure that they are somewhat economically independent, considering now that we are seeing some kind of shifts in the federating state. Of course, the national economy also is grappling with its own challenges. And what we're seeing in the past days are meetings upon meetings with governors, especially in the northern region. We understand that some of the governors in the northern region were in the United States, and they were discussing with some foreign partners on how to secure the region. When they came back, they went to Kaduna State and had a meeting where they were talking about state policing and other measures in finding alliance within the region to ensure the safety of lives and property in the region. One of the governors who went to the United States and, of course, was also there in Kaduna State is the governor of Katsina State, His Excellency Governor Diko Rada, who joins us live from Katsina, the capital of Katsina State, to talk with us tonight. Governor Diko Rada, thank you so much indeed, Your Excellency, for joining us tonight on the program.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. There are a lot of people who are wondering, what exactly did you and your colleagues go to do in the United States?
I can't hear you very much.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can't hear you very well.
Yeah, I said a lot of Nigerians are wondering, some of your colleagues in the northern region were in the United States. So what was the agenda? What was the business? What was it that took you and your colleagues to the United States?
Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. And as you rightly said, the governors, 10 governors were in the United States, Washington, D.C., and we had a symposium with the United States Institute for Peace so that we can bring about ideas that will come to the end of the insecurity that is worrying our people, and that is a major challenge to us as subnationals. And they carefully choose the governors of the places where they were affected by the issue of banditry and kidnapping. And equally, there are some governors from the North Central that also had issues of some communal clashes, also were invited of Benue and Plateau State. All of us sat for 3 nights, for 3 days, and we were able to cross-fertilize ideas, and we were able to interact with all the necessary stakeholders that are involved in bringing about lasting peace and security globally, and in which we rub ideas, and there was a clear understanding.
All right. Governor Rada, I hope that you can still hear me. I can see you, and I hope that the connection is stable right now. So I'm asking, for the purpose of those who do not really have clarity on why the governors will go there, and of course, I would like you to also explain some of the lessons that you have brought back for the benefit of your state. Why didn't that conversation happen on Nigerian soil? Why in the United States?
Thank you very much. I think the meeting or the symposium that took place in the United States was not at the instance of the governors, of the selected governors of the northern state, but it was at the instance of the United States Institute for Peace. They were the people who invited us, and they were the people who hosted us for that meeting. And I think that question should be thrown to them, but the most important one is we were invited to sit with them so that we can bring about lasting solution to the problems that have been affecting our people. You know, this situation of insecurity, people could not understand the in-depth nature of the insecurity that is happening in our regions. Some people will sit in their sitting rooms and start making unpleasant comments on the things that affect our people, but generally, it is we that are sitting on those chairs that knows the heat that is affecting our people. And by the way, you know, why do we have organizations? Why do we have relationships? Why do we have economic, social, and security relationship with other countries? The essence of doing that is to cross-fertilize ideas. The essence of doing that is to bring about new ideas. Because if you look at the situation that we are facing today, there are so many things that we have challenges on in terms of technology, in terms of technical knowledge on some of these issues that are affecting our people. And then we need to have a new idea. We need to sit down and understand the situation in other people's perspective, because the way we look at it may be different from the way other people look at it. So it is in order to understand the dynamics of all these insecurity challenges in our country. That is the major reason why we need to sit down with whoever wanted to sit down with us and discuss the issue of insecurity, because we may not know where we are going to get the lasting solution to the problem that we are facing. We have been in this insecurity for the last 10 years, and we have been doing the same thing, and there was no any sign of end of this problem that is affecting our country and our subnational in particular. So we need to hear from anybody who is willing to offer any assistance that may help us to look into the issues and bring about a lasting solution to this problem of insecurity. We have talked about economic development, which largely is one of the things that creates the problem of insecurity, especially in the northwestern part of the country. Because when you look at the window of recruitment, when you look at the way the logistics is being supplied to the vendors, to the bandits, and the host of other things, you need to cross-fertilize idea. You need to look at the economic development aspect of the region so that we can be able to tackle it from the point of looking at the root cause of the problems, including poverty, injustice that has been happening within the region from some of the authorities in charge of dispensing justice to our people. And I think these are all areas in which we navigate through and be able to look at the problems holistically, look at the root cause of those problems, look at the recruitment window, look at how to stop the recruitment exercise that is going on, and also face the challenge squarely so that we may bring about a lasting solution to our
Governor
people.
Rada, if I may jump in quickly, yeah. So what would you say was the major, because I know when you and your colleagues came back, you went to Katsina for another round of meeting with the 19 states of the northern region. What would you say is the most significant lesson that you've gotten from the United States in that interaction?
Some surprising thing that happened at the United States is we were able to receive informations from the United States that we are unable to receive or we don't know about when we were there. I think this is one of the main reasons why I think the collaboration and the partnership that we had with them is yielding result. And we came back with a lot of programs. They have outlined some major problems, some major programs that we are supposed to roll out in our state to mitigate the effect of this insecurity to our people. Also to be able to create an economic environment within the communities so that we can be able to rejuvenate the economy and then also bring back life in terms of livelihood, in terms of, and then there are a lot of collaboration because we had some side meetings with organizations like UNDP, like Food Agricultural Organization, like the African Economic Cooperation, like the Financial Cooperation for Africa. All these organizations, we have had meetings with them, and they were willing and ready to support it, both financially, technically, and otherwise, to the benefit of our people.
You are the chairman of the Northwest Governors, and we know that your predecessor had tried some option in speaking with some of the leaders of the bandits in asking them to drop their weapons, some of which some would say did not work. But from your own point of view, Northwest being a major hit from the bandits, what would you say you have found out as a possible solution in dealing with the banditry in the Northwestern region?
Yes, it's true what you said. Our predecessors have tried so many ways to have dialogue with this bandit and also to have a peace accord with this bandit. But what we came to understand is it doesn't work. Why didn't it work? Because of two major reasons. One is we have negotiated with those bandits at that time at a very weak point. Because if you want to succeed in any negotiation, you don't negotiate at the point of weakness. You negotiate with bandits at the point of strength. That is one. Secondly, what they did was it was more of a because in the camps, when you understand the terrain of the forest and the different camps that we have within those forests, like in Katsina, we have more than 100 different camps that is being led by somebody. So they have many leaders, many camps. So if you negotiate with camp A and B, if you didn't negotiate with camp C and D, it will not bring any lasting peace. And even if you negotiate with the leaders, the other followers of those leaders may not necessarily comply with the directives of their leaders. So that is what makes the negotiation with the bandit very, very difficult task in the northern part of the country. Like there are so many advocates for that. Nobody is saying that we shouldn't be having peace. Nobody says that we shouldn't go into negotiation. But what I said is I will never go into negotiation with any criminal at the point of weakness. So that was the reason why when we came on board, we set up Katsina Community Watch, we equip them, we give them all the necessary support in collaboration with the conventional security agencies that we have in the state. They are doing excellently well, and we have reduced the level of insecurity very well. And if the bandits are now ready to come for negotiation sincerely and in a very holistic manner, we'll be ready to do it. But before then, another way we want to tackle this insecurity is to also improve on the well-being of the people, providing good governance, accountability, and transparency, making people to believe in the government, because the problem we have in Nigeria is a lot of the followers, they don't believe in the sincerity of the leaders. So what we are trying to do is to bring about confidence back into the people, to make them believe that we are there for them and we are ready to support them and we are ready to do everything possible to support the development of our people. That is why we are trying to fight poverty the way it's supposed to be. We are trying to improve agricultural production because 85% of our people are into agricultural production, and provide the basic needs to those people so that they will have a better life. And when they have a better life, we improve the MSME development in the state. We can be able to address the issue of poverty, create employment, generate wealth to the people, and then...
Yeah. There are those who opine that there are those who are politically funding or fueling the air of insecurity and banditry in the northern region of the country. Do you agree? And I mean, what would you say is the major air that is making this banditry thrive?
Thank you very much. There are so many insinuations as to what causes the banditry in our region. But to me, and to my understanding, and from the little knowledge I have, being the governor of the state for almost a year now, I understand that the issue of the hypothesis behind political motives about banditry is not true. I think purely what causes banditry in our place, the root cause of it was injustice. There were a lot of injustices that were done on the planet, which causes this problem to spring over time. This thing has been with us for a very long time, and it has started small, and it has grown big now. And then there are some collaborators from the houses who are staying within the towns, who are serving as the providers of logistics to those bandits. But the issue of the hypothesis behind there is some foreigners involved, there are some people from the foreign land that are coming to inflict this thing on our people is purely a political statement by some people who just want to use that as a political goal to them. In the issue of security, then secondly, what also causes the recruitment under the logistics services for the bandit was as a result of poverty. Because surprisingly, with 2,000, 5,500 naira, you can be able to convince some of the youth to join into this exercise, which brings about money. And now it has turned out to be a business venture for the criminals, and the business venture for also some people who are in government, and some people who are in the security outfit, and some people who are being responsible for day-to-day activities of their people. Because these are so many reasons why that this banditry were unable to bring an end to it. Because you may not know who among those people that are surrounding you. It may be your driver, it may be your houseboy, it may be your blood brother, it may be your father, it may be your younger brother. So it can be anybody. Because we have caught so many people who are saddled with responsibility for people involved in this criminality. So this is something that is making it very, very difficult to fight.
All right.
Because you don't know whom you are fighting with, because people surrounding you may be involved.
Quickly, Governor, let's wrap up the conversation. And I'd like to get your view on the workers' wages. The Labour president is saying 615,000 is their own proposition. In your own view, as a governor, would you be able to afford it if that's the figure agreed upon by the committee? If not, what figure is realistic from your own point of view as a governor?
I think the issue of minimum wage has to be handled carefully, and given the political and economic opportunities that are involved in the various subnationals. Because if we look at the subnationals, everything has differs. Our allocation has differs. The strength of our civil servant has differed. The length, the challenges in the states differs. So I think the issue of minimum wage, we agree that the federal government, we can have a minimum standard of the minimum wage, but subnationals should be allowed to come up with a reasonable standard within which their economy can be able to afford. That is my view, and that is the view of some of our colleagues, that yes, we have agreed that there should be a minimum wage, but there should be a minimum standard within which the subnationals can be
Governor
able
Rada, what would be your own suggestion? What figure, Governor Rada, would be your own suggestion? What figure do you think is realistic?
I'm waiting. I'm not going to say a figure now, because there needs to be end of that discussion before Katsina State can sit down and look at the economy and be able to come up with a figure that we can be able to pay our civil servants.
Your colleague in Edo State, for example, had chosen a 70,000 as a peg for minimum wage. Would you be able to go along that figure?
I don't know. I don't know what comes into the Edo State government coffers. So the governor is at the liberty to say whatever amount he thinks he can afford. But for me to sit down here and tell you that this is the amount that I will agree to pay my civil servant, I cannot do it because we are running a government. We need to take this thing into executive council, sit down with all the important people in government, look at our revenue, look at our expenditure, look at the strength of our civil servants before we can come to a conclusion. That, because you could remember, even the 30,000 minimum wage that was agreed over years, there are some states that up to now they have not implemented the 30,000 minimum wage.
All right.
So you have to look at it and you have to be very careful and look at it holistically so that we can address the issue as appropriate.
All right. Governor Diko Rada, Governor of Katsina State and the chair of the Northwest Governors Forum, thank you so much indeed for your time tonight.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. Well, let's switch and talk about the economy in more details, especially issues of tariff. It's a big conundrum for the Tinubu government. Well, as Nigeria grapples with multifaceted economic challenges, the recent agitation surrounding the proposed increase in telecommunication tariffs emerged as a poignant reflection of the broader socio-economic landscape against the backdrop of inflationary pressures, fuel scarcity, and contentious wage negotiations. The discourse on rising tariffs underscores the intricate interplay between consumer affordability, industry sustainability, and national development imperatives. Data-driven analysis illuminates the intricate dynamics at play, revealing the intricate balance required to navigate between fostering a conducive business environment for telecommunication operators and safeguarding the purchasing power of citizens amidst the economic hardship that we see. In this climate of heightened scrutiny, policymakers face the arduous task of formulating strategies that reconcile competing interests, ensuring equitable access to essential services while addressing the broader structural challenges contributing to the nation's economic woes. Tonight, our attention is on Telecoms tariff. We've been talking about electricity tariff and all what have you. Well, the government has removed tariff on and subsidies on fuel, and it has its effects also. Well, let's talk about all of this. I'm being joined by one man that I run to when I have some economic issues. He's an economist and the executive director and the MD and the CEO of Financial Derivatives, Mr. Bismarck Rwani, who joins us live from our Lagos studio. Thank you so much, Rwani, Mr. Rwani, for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Man, it's a lot of burden for Nigerian consumers. Nigerian citizen and the average person is groaning under the pressures that the economy is putting on their hands. On one hand, there is no fuel is scarce. On another hand, you're battling with the effect of fuel scarcity. On another hand, is the issue of electricity tariff. And you're trying to figure out which band you belong, either A, B, C, D. You don't even know. So, Mr. Rwani, what kind of quagmire does the average citizen find itself in this economic nightmare?
Sean, I was watching your program with the governor of Katsina State, and I noticed that out of 28 minutes of your interview, at least 8 to 9 minutes, there was a breakdown in the telecom line of communication. You were unable to communicate with him. He was going from one end to the other. You were struggling. So I want you to imagine what happens to the quality of service when the telco sector disinvests or underinvests or uses assets suboptimally. So 25% of the time of this program you had was spent trying to figure out how to communicate. If there was proper investment, if the service was of the quality that was required because the investments were there, you would not have had that problem. You have lost, and the Nigerian viewer lost 25% of its time trying to figure out how to communicate. I just want to put that as some context. And one thing I have to let you know is that the last time there was a tariff review for the telecom sector was 11 years ago, 2013. And now we are saying here that at that time, Nigeria had a president by name Goodluck Jonathan. Ever since then, there's been President Buhari and now President Tinubu. And the price of a bag of cement at that time was 1,800. Today, that bag of cement is 7,500. It had gone higher. That was an increase of 4,066%. A bag of rice at that time was 12,000 naira. It's now up to 77,000 naira. And now, that is 525% increase. The price of diesel was 196 naira. It went all the way to 1,900. That's up to 1,000%. And now it's down to 1,400 naira. And that's an increase of 614%. The naira in the forex market was 157 naira. Today it is 1,400 naira in the parallel market. Depreciation of 763%. So if you take cumulative inflation from 2013 to now, it's 387%. The minimum wage then, you were talking about minimum wage with the governor, was 18,000 naira. Today they're asking for 615 naira. And what is interesting is that Comrade Ajero, in speaking about all the components of what went into the minimum wage, he spoke about rice, he talked about food, he talked about rent. He did not mention one of the items, which is spending on telecoms. So it has become subconsciously, people have come to assume that telecom pricing and parameters should be constant, as it was in 2013. And let me tell you, even in the basket, the consumer basket, the component for rice is 8%. The component for telecoms is only 0.75%. But you know what? I watch your programs all the time. And I watch in all of those events where governors and leaders are there, 50% of them are playing with their devices even during the session. Play back on any of these programs today, because they cannot leave home without it. Their device has become an integral part of their lives. You cannot leave home without it. Therefore, what I'm saying here is that the telco sector contributes officially 10% to GDP, but it is a critical form of social infrastructure. Without it...
Mr. Rewaning.
Yes, please.
So, I mean, when I heard that the NCC and the telcos are talking about and advocating a tariff hike, I was a bit confused, because there will be a pushback from the consumers. But if you look at the next slide, which you have worked on, which is the fourth slide, telling us that there is being a slide in the development in the tariff window.
Yes.
It shows that there is a major problem.
Yes.
But in all of this, Mr. Rewaning, how do you think that the average consumer will react to this? If you look at what in this period, yes, there's the lowest tariff in the telecom industry, but then how does the consumer relate to it?
No, but listen, Sean, just like petrol, just like electricity, if you go across to neighboring countries where their income and their GDP is lower than ours, how come there are no queues in Benin Republic, no queues in Lome, no breakdown in power supply in Lome and Benin Republic and Togo? How come the telecom system works efficiently? Because if you underinvest in any sector, if you don't manage that sector efficiently, you will get low returns and inefficient outcomes. So that is what it is. You can't eat your cake and have it. You've got to pay for service to get quality. And I tell you what, if you don't do it, what happened to you this evening when you spent 25% of the time trying to figure out whether the governor was hearing you? We'll go on a larger scale. Let me tell you what, it's important. In 1993 or what, you had Option A4. In whatever it is, you had ballot papers and people running away with ballot papers. Now with the IREV or whatever we call the BVAS and all of that, if there's a breakdown in telco service and infrastructure, what will happen in Benin or in Edo State on the 21st of September when they have that election? What will happen in Edo State will be, you see, telco services have now become critical even to political stability. even with the telco service partially working, where elections were supposedly manipulated, 38 million voters came out supposedly. And if that happens, if there's a breakdown in the telco service because of underinvestment, and therefore it leads to a breakdown in political stability, the consequence is not a palatable consequence. We can go on, and I'm just talking about the political consequence of a failure in telco infrastructure. If you go to the economy, oh boy, I can't even begin to talk about it. 2013, and we've told you what happened in 2013 and how, cumulatively what the inflation factor is, and there's no price increase. If you don't do that, the result is what you see. Now, in the last year, the telcos have been unable to pay dividend. They were not the only ones, but because of underinvestment, they've been the revenues, total revenues, about $6 to $7 billion about a couple of years back. Now it is down by 50%, and the result is what you're seeing here. Like your struggle now to communicate with the governor is evidence of a failure in the telco infrastructure. Now, the shareholding of Airtel and MTN has been democratized. But you know what? This year, zero dividend because of losses. What they pay, what the telcos pay in taxes and what they pay in dividends is put together is more than 3 months of total federal allocation revenue shared between the states and the federal government. If they lose money because of underinvestment and they go into suboptimality, the state government revenue and the federal government revenues will drop. You will not be talking about the minimum wage of 100. You'll be talking about a minimum wage way below that and higher unemployment. So I want us to sit back and think about the consequences of not investing in the sector. If you underinvest, the sector will go into decay, decline, and the economy itself will suffer untold hardship.
So you've established for us the impact of the tariff and how it has stayed in one place for over several years, and how the telco industry have also experienced some decline. And we've seen from what the profits are in the decline for some of these telcos. And the fact is that the question will be, is it only, so tariff means that, so let's break it down. When we need to pay money, we need to break it down in such a way that we can understand better. Now, this tariff means that the consumer or the average phone user or the data user will have to pay more. Let's assume I pay 1 naira for 1 minute call. It means that I should be expecting to pay maybe 3 naira or 4 naira. Is that what we're saying?
No, not necessarily. What we are saying is that the optimality of use of the resources. If you are going to, what goes into a call? You have your service, you have your base station because there's power. Today, there are 127,000 base stations all over Nigeria. Each of them have 3 generators. You're buying diesel, which you were buying at 195 at 1,300, 1,400. You have optic fiber cables. You have undersea cables that are going all the way through over the Atlantic Ocean and back. These things have to be paid for. There's no free lunch. All the countries in the world are paying, and that is why your tariff levels cannot be subterranean. Let me use a better word, suboptimal. Now, so pricing has to be in equilibrium. Now, if you don't do that, and then you begin to suffer quality of service, what happens is that quality of service leads to low productivity. Low productivity leads to low output. Low output leads to inflation. Inflation leads to weaker currency, and then cost of living crisis. So let me tell you, the good news is that because of quality of service and being maintained, even though you invest and you pay a higher tariff, what you get is that because you can have information at your fingertip, you are not going to be gouged by anybody. If you are telling me today that the naira value is 1350, and I pick up my phone and I can see it on whatever platform that it is 1300, I will not pay 1350. So generally speaking, inflation declines because of this service. Generally speaking, telemedicine will improve because of this figure. Generally speaking, your artisan and your laborer will from a video call, know exactly what spare parts you need, and then come to your house only once to come and fix your device or your air conditioner and all of that. So generally, if you look at it, even though you are paying for a marginal increase in tariff to cover the cost of the business, you are getting an output and a return which is infinitely higher. And it's good for the country and good for the economy. If you do not do it,
Mr. Rwani,
yeah.
Mr. Rwani, give me 1 minute. Yeah, give me 1 minute. Let's take a breather. And when we come back, I just hope my colleagues in our Lagos studio will give us all of the materials that we need, because I'm seeing a whole lot of these materials that are here right now for our viewers to be able to have an understanding of what your explanation looks like. We take a breather, and when we return, we'll talk more on what a tariff hike will be for the consumer and for the industry and for Nigeria at large. We'll be right back after this break, everyone. Join us again. Thanks so much, everyone, for staying with us. So Mr. Bismarck Rwani has been giving us insight on a need for Telecoms tariff. Brace up, everyone, because the explanation Mr. Rwani is giving is like, look, this is something that has to happen. The reality we have to live with, sadly so. But then, Mr. Rwani, let's begin on you explaining what must be done.
Okay. Let me tell you what it is. The reality is that in the last few minutes, you were unable to get the slides. Now the communication circuit is okay, and you're able to get the slides. What would have happened is that I would have had to fly to Abuja to meet you, or you would have had to fly to Lagos. We've saved that. The entire country is seeing this because technology is working. But the reality is that two things are required. One, updating the pricing mechanism right now so that the prices reflect the true cost today, but also deregulating the pricing system so that people don't have to go every time they want to increase the tariff to go and get approval. There's a consumer protection agency. So because nobody fixes the price of cement, nobody fixes the price of sugar, nobody fixes the price of rice. So first of all, push up the price to reflect its current reality. Then two, deregulate the system so that it's efficient. Because there are four major players here. There's Glo, there's Nine Mobile, there's Airtel, and there's MTN. The intensity of rivalry and the fierceness of competition has made it impossible for them to exploit anybody. And they've kept prices low or at current levels for the past 11 years. And it's time to now reflect it. Because if you do not invest, then the services will fall. And if the services fall, the economy suffers. Well, I want us to note one thing. In the year 2022 alone, the 16% of all corporate income tax in this country came from the telco sector. This year, it's zero because they've declared losses. If it continues next year, you can imagine the effect on corporate income tax, the effect on the Consolidated Revenue Fund, and the effect on what is shared among the federal, state governments, and local governments. It is going to be a major calamity. We can't afford to do it. So what do we need to do? Reprice this tariff so that they can make profits that will make them pay taxes that the governments will use to pay for medical service, health, transportation, education, and so that's it. It's a no-brainer. But if you don't do it, you have three options: do nothing, which will limp to death; do the wrong thing, which will cause immediate calamity; or do the right thing, and then you will see the effect of that. It's not even a question to be discussed. It's not when, it's not if, it is when, and it must be done immediately.
Now, do you think, politically speaking, Mr. Rwani, that this government will be willing to take up that difficult task, considering the fact that there's been a lot of agitation against the increase in electricity tariff, for example?
Well, let me put it this way. There's a revenue problem and there's an efficiency problem. If the revenues that the government collects, it is unable to manage it efficiently, and there are leakages and there's theft, there's fraud, there's lack of transparency, there's nothing you can do about that. The government has to fix its own, put its house in order, right? And there's no excuse for having a disorganized way of managing government. But that does not mean that businesses should be made to pay the penalty of inefficient and corrupt governments. And I'm not talking about, this has been the history of Nigeria for the past 30, 40 years. So we'll fix the problem of fixing government and fixing corruption in government and making sure that things happen is one issue, and that has to be solved. To that extent, we cannot deny people for pricing their commodities and their prices in a cost-plus margin basis. If you do that, what is going to happen? The businesses will die, and the government also will die, and then there'll be complete disorder and chaos. So we can't. It's not. I don't know why we're having that conversation.
Mr. Ariwani, when I ran to you and when I heard at first that the NCC, the telcos are thinking about an increase in tariff, and I ran to you, I thought, oh, my friend, Mr. Ariwani, see what is going to happen. Can we have a conversation for the interest of the Nigerian people? You told me, Sheil, look, this is something that must happen. This tariff has to happen. And yes, you gave me reason, and you said, give me a date. I'm going to come to explain to the Nigerian people. Let's summarize and conclude on where we need to go and what this government needs to do, and the Nigerian people needs to come to the table also to understand the intricacies and what needs to be done. In summary and conclusion.
Strong correlation between efficient telecom system, perfect information, pure markets, and efficient outcome and competition. What you are paying is pale compared to the efficiencies that you'll get if this sector begins to grow and grow effectively. But the failure to do the right thing, the outcome is going to be a mess. So, like I said, Nigeria has to come to terms with the fact that we pay for service and we run the service, people get service, and communication is so important. 1 minute breakdown in telecommunication means that the surgeon does not get the information, he makes a mistake, and the patient dies. 1 minute breakdown in communication, you know what will happen to an aircraft which is about to land. 1 minute breakdown in communication, you know what will happen. I want you to imagine that there is a 693% increase in transactions, POS transactions and net payment. Can you imagine what will happen if the system breaks down and you cannot make payments today? Forget the fact that 20 years ago we had no mobile phones. Today, the system of payments, the systems of telemedicine, the system of aviation, your voting system, your telemedicine and all of that cannot survive without an optimal and well-run telecom system. It's not even an option. We can't even talk about it. We should be implementing immediately and ensuring that the revenues that go to government out of this are used efficiently for the welfare of the people. We cannot rob Peter to pay Paul.
Sorry, Juan, so much to take in, and I'm hoping the only thing I can do is to pray for the consumers, and let's see that if the figures and the indices get better for the interest
they will be
of
okay, I can assure you.
People. Thank you so much.
They will be okay.
Yeah.
Everybody will be okay at the end of it. Thank you very much.
At the end of the day. Thank you so much, Mr. Bismarck Kirwani, an economist and the Managing Director of Financial Derivatives Company Limited. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. Well, everyone, it's our Friday program, and that's how we end it right here on Channels Television. I'll see you on Sunday at 8 p.m. God bless Nigeria.